Hi, I'm Beverly Harzog, host of Your Personal Economy. You can't control what goes on in the world in terms of inflation or even the price of groceries, but you can control your own personal economy. And I'm going to show you just how to do that because the way you spend your money is the way you spend your life. Welcome to episode number 27. We are going to do a budgeting face-off today. I'm going to start by explaining how the zero-based budgeting method works, and then we're going to compare that to the 50-30-20 budget and also 60-20-20 in case you haven't heard of that one. And they've all got some pros and cons. I'm going to cover it all. And I'm also going to talk about how to actually put this method into action. Okay, it's great to talk about all this stuff, but until you actually implement it and follow it, it's not going to help you. So let's get started. Before we get into specific budgeting methods, I want to say a word about loud budgeting. And this is a TikTok trend. And I must say, I like it very much. I do like it because it means you're being assertive. For example, your friends want to go on an expensive weekend trip, but you just can't do it right now. It doesn't fit into your budget. So you say that. You say, I can't do it right now, but I will keep that in mind in the future if it works into my budget. If you get invited to a destination wedding, if you can't swing it, say something, okay? And if you're in the wedding, I know that's a sticky situation, but you can still say something and maybe the bride's family can help you out a little. You never know until you ask. But the point is, you state your opinion about whether or not it's going to have a negative impact on you financially. And that's okay. You should be doing that. But to be clear, that's not a budgeting method. Okay. That's budgeting behavior. Okay. Which is also very, very important. In episode 24, I talk about breaking bad money habits and of giving into peer pressure and spending money you don't have to be with your group is part of an issue that you have been trying to get rid of, then check out that episode. It's 24. And I do that episode based on the book Atomic Habits. Okay. And I think you'll enjoy that episode. And you'll also find that these bad habits are easier to break than you thought. But yes, I love loud budgeting. And I want you to do that. Okay. When you need to. All right, so first we're going to look at zero-based budgeting. And this is very popular. I've gotten a lot of questions about this from my website. So let's get started, and I will tell you everything you need to know about zero-based budgeting. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the median yearly salary for the first quarter of 2024 is $59,228. Now, that's the median, not the average. And I like to use the median because I think it's a little more accurate. With an average, that includes people that make very little money and people that make a lot of money. And so you don't really get a realistic idea of what the average truly is. So I go with median, which is the middle number in a whole list of salaries, okay, from the lowest salaries up to the highest. And I just think it gives a better representation. And we're going to bump this up. I'm going to give everybody a raise right now. And we're going to make it an even 60,000 so that it's easy to do the math. I'm going to use this number as an example as we go through each budgeting method. Now, with the zero-based budgeting method, every dollar has a job. Actually, every penny has a job. You're going to know where all of your money is going every single month. And that's one thing I like about it. It's very hands-on. You have the ability to reprioritize your expenses. Okay, so let's say in September, you had to factor in back to school expenses for your kids. And then in December, you need to think about the holiday expenses. And maybe you've got other expenses throughout the year related to your own specific situation. So think about that, and you can kind of plan ahead a little bit. You are going to have to run the numbers every single month to be sure that every dollar is going somewhere. We're going to break it down into income to start, okay? And then all of your expenses and your savings and anything you want to give to others, charitable contributions, is going to come out of the income number. So our income is 5,000. So let's say your cost of living expenses, your rent, mortgage, cell phone bill, student loan payments, car loan payments, utilities, things like groceries, things like that. Those are your needs. Those are not optional. Okay. You have to pay these things just to live. Okay. Let's say for you, it totals 2,500 a month. So $5,000 income minus 2,500 needs is going to leave you with $2,500. So with zero-based budgeting, you've got $2,500 left for wants. Okay. And these are things like going on a vacation, going to the movies, going out to a restaurant with friends, things like that. So think about what it is you want to do in terms of wants. And with zero-based budgeting, you can also spread out these wants from month to month. It doesn't have to be a standard thing you do every single month unless that works with your budget. And so we've got $2,500 left for wants and for savings. So let's say we split that. Okay. If you had credit card debt, I'd want you to spend more on needs because I don't want you just paying the minimum payment on that. And we'll get to that a bit more in a minute. But let's say you don't have massive credit card debt and you're going to split the $2,500 that you have left remaining. So that would be $1,250 for wants, $1,250 for saving, and charitable contributions. Okay. And so you've got 5,000 minus 2,500 minus 1,250 minus 1,250 equals zero. There's your zero-based budgeting. Now, I do want to say one more thing about credit card debt, and that's going to factor into what your wants versus needs are. If you've got high interest credit card debt, you want to be sure you pay more than the minimums. So your needs, not just the minimum payment, but maybe a little more than that, that should be considered when you do a zero-based budget and you're going month to month. So how much more can I spend this month on top of that minimum payment to help pay down my debt? So you do need to cut into your wants a little bit if you've got debt, but I promise you it's not forever. Once you get rid of that debt, you're going to feel fantastic. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me, you will feel great. All right. So there's your zero-based budget. And it just gives you a chance to evaluate your spending. And I do like it, but it's not for everybody. If you've got a consistent income, it's a lot easier to do than if you're a freelancer or an independent contractor, or if you work part-time in sales, something like that. It might be harder to do this. Not impossible, but a little more difficult. All right. So next, we're going to talk about another popular budgeting method, and that's the 50-30-20 method. Okay, 50% goes to cost of living, 30% goes to your wants, and 20% goes to savings and contributions. So let's look at that one next. Now, let's take a look at the 50-30-20 budget. Now, there are things I like about this, and there are things I don't like. This is not going to work for everyone. It's very popular, and often I will see articles say this is what everyone should do. There is no budgeting method that everyone should do. Okay. You really have to customize it to what your needs are. Now, with the 50-30-20, that means that 50% is your living expenses, 30% are wants, and 20% are savings and investments and charitable contributions. But let's say you live in a really high cost of living area, say California or New York, or just in a major metropolitan area in the US. Some of these cities have really high cost of living. So it might not be possible for you to get all of your living expenses in at 50%. Hopefully you can, because it can be a bit of a struggle if you can't. But given the economy right now and how shelter is so expensive, whether you're paying a mortgage or rent, it's probably not even your fault, okay, if you're having trouble getting this under 50%, especially if you're just starting out in your career, or maybe you don't make a whole lot of money. And so more of what you do make has to go towards housing. So that's why flexibility is so important. One thing I don't like about 50-30-20 is that you're putting 30% towards wants and only 20% towards savings. And I think that's fine. If you're at a stage in your career, you've got, a good stage, you've been doing it for a long time, you've got, investments, you've got some retirement already. So you're not too concerned that you're spending more on wants and on saving at that point. But you need to get to that point for this budget to make sense. I don't recommend it for college students or anyone starting out in their career, actually. If you're going to do something like 50-25-25, to me, that makes more sense. And by the way, you can, you know, massage the percents all you want, change the numbers around to what works for you. So that's the 50-30-20. Now, if you're in a high cost of living, you might consider that you need a 60-20-20 budget. 60% goes to your cost of living. Okay. And then 20% wants and 20% saving and contributions. Again, if you've got credit card debt, you might want to put a little more in your necessary expenses. Okay. Bump up that minimum payment a little bit. So you might even have to go to like 65 on cost of living expenses and do like 20 and 15, something like that. But if you've got debt, that's especially credit card debt. Okay, that's high APR debt, which means if you're carrying a balance, you're paying compound interest, and interest rates averaging around 24-25%. So that's a situation that you need to address. I need you to make that a priority. Okay. Think about that when you decide how much you put towards wants and how much you're going to put towards savings and how much you can put towards your cost of living expenses. All right. And remember, anytime you need to adjust these, 55, 30, 15, whatever works for you. Okay. You're the person who decides the best budgeting method for you. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 27. We talked about zero-based budgeting and we compared that to other budgeting methods like the 50-30-20 and the 60-20-20. And at the end of the day, you just have to pick the budgeting method that works best for you and your own special circumstances. Coming up next, we're going to talk about an upcoming meeting that the Fed is going to have. And we are all expecting a rate decrease. And how will that impact your wallet? Is there anything you can do to prepare? Well, I have some ideas. I will see you at the next episode. If you're enjoying my podcast, please subscribe and forward it to your friends. I'm on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. See you soon.